All right, here we go, Overdrive. Off and running, TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
What's up?
What's going on?
Guys, I heard a term just a few minutes ago with Cause. I don't know who was producing with him, but he used it, and it's a term in sports. It's growing, and it's making me cringe when I hear it. And it's been used with some Toronto sports teams. Internal growth.
Yeah, internal improvement.
Dude, I don't know what. No, I don't know.
it.
Hayes, I don't know what it is about that term. Like, we've had own rental. Remember that own rental? Like at trade deadline time, it was like that. That was like kind of a catchphrase.
Yeah, it's an own rental. Keeping our guy. Going to rent him out the rest of the way.
When I hear internal improvement, I don't know why, but it makes me cringe because it basically means you're junk. And it's also saying, we didn't screw up that draft pick, that trade, that signing. He just needs to get a little bit better next year. It makes me cringe. I don't know why.
Oh, I'm with you, man. I know why.
Dude, internal growth makes me cringe, and I don't know why.
Yes, and really,
like, usually just as a sane person, maybe I'm insane, you would say, yeah, maybe they just need some time to get a little bit. But I hear that, I go crazy. I'm like, God, that's crazy.
It's incredibly aggravating, and I think I can live with it. I don't like it, but I can live with it on a younger team. All right, if Masai Ujiri and company said, internal growth, internal improvement, yes, you're one of the youngest teams in the league. You're not going to win. You're not selling that you're going to win. And what that means is pretty simple. Grady Dick needs to grow up, and, Scotty Barnes has to take the next step, and can Emmanuel quickly be the man? I get that. You can't say that when you have George Springer on the team. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe way you just said that right there, it goes from a young team, but it's like, by the way, if you have George Springer, you can't use that phrase.
No, George Springer means you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to. If you have Gosman and Justin Turner to start the year.
You know what? The Sens, maybe the Sens is their last year available.
I don't think so. That's a good question. Noodles, you can speak to it. If you drop it, you're calling a game for them Friday night. If you go out there and say, I'm seeing a lot of internal improvement out here.
But no, Hayes, my point is maybe it's their last year available to have available to them internal growth. Noodles, yes or no? One more year for the Sens to have it. They can have it on their jersey instead of an advertisement. Internal growth patch.
Right. How about let's arrive or something like that? Like I just think it's a cop-out. Honestly,
hashtag
we've arrived. We've arrived. Let's arrive. You start saying internal growth. That is the laziest narrative. That's just basically saying we're not going to do anything. We're young. We're going to let these guys grow. I agree. Like, you can say it if you're the Raptors, because there is young players there. You're going to move some older guys out. But you're right. George Springer is, 38? How old is he?
He's not that old. Yeah, but he's 34. Yeah, 35.
34. Okay, so, he's in his mid-30s, we'll call it.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit less. There's no internal growth. We know what George Springer is. We could have said it for the Leafs a couple years ago. Internal growth, we're getting, got young guys that are pushing. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, they're all in their prime. This is, same thing, McDavid, all of those guys. There's no more internal growth. This is their prime. They're trying to win. So with Ottawa, when Tim Stützle's 21 and Josh Norris is 23 and, Brady Tkachuk is 23 and 24, at some point you can use that. But how about we've arrived, or we're trying? This is the year to arrive, because Claude Giroux is 37, coming 37.
Maybe he's Ottawa's Springer.
Claude could be the Springer. He really could be the Springer of Ottawa. I think what is important to address with this is, if you're going to use that terminology, you can't also spin that you intend to win. That, I think, is the way to put it. You can't scream internal growth, internal improvement, which really means we're not picking anyone up. We're not going to sign free agents that are going to be quality. We're not going to make blockbuster trades. We're just going to bank on all these players miraculously growing into Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, and Giannis and whatever else it is throughout the league. If you're selling, that's your plan, that's your marketing campaign, but also, hey, buy tickets because we plan on winning. We're going to win 90-plus games if it's the Blue Jays, or 45 plus if you're the Raptors, or get upwards of 100 plus points if you're the Leafs. It just they are oxymorons. You can't sell that because it's such a lazy sales pitch with also, believe me, we're so good we're going to win.
Tiger Woods, same thing, man. He can't show up at a tournament and say, I don't ever play, I never touch my clubs, but if I have a good week, I can take this baby home.
Right. Can't do
Not
it.
Happening.
Can't say, I never play, I never practice, but I can win. Can't do it. And I am interested in that, though. What team in North America, if you want to go to that scope, like just crossed over the line this offseason, I guess in the NHL, if you want to use the NHL, which team crossed over the internal growth line?
Philadelphia Flyers?
I think you pointed it out.
Ooh. Ottawa's your team,
No,
Noodles?
I think it's Ottawa. You guys just pointed to it. At some point, yes, Pierre Dorian came out and said rebuild's over, all of that type of stuff. They had a season that to forget last year. The Pinto, they had injuries. The goalies couldn't make a save. The coaching change, all of that. But at some point, you've got to cross over. Hayes, I'll use your line, the Mendoza line.
Yes.
You've got to cross over the line between, being, hey, you're young, and hey, we've arrived. And I don't know. I'm going to lay eyes on them. I've been watching them in the preseason. I am going to lay eyes on them this weekend. Had a good chat with our buddy Travis Green. Was that yesterday or today? Either, and Greeny's pretty optimistic, likes what he sees, but also says, here's the other thing, though. People have to be realistic. And I think people in the hockey world talk exactly about what we talk about. If we've got all these, let's say two teams out of Hayes' list that are making the playoffs this year, who's coming out? That's the question mark, because, all these playoff teams that made it last year, they're expecting to grow internally or get better. So who's coming out of the playoffs? The Boston Bruins, this Swayman thing, man. I don't know.
That's what you're hoping for, right?
I think they're closer.
You think they're actually getting closer now after that? I mean, it's possible. In reality, it is business. It gets personal, but it doesn't get personal for the agent. The agent is always going to just represent the player. The agent's a lawyer by trade. It probably gets personal to an extent, at times for the GM and stuff, but not for the owner, because the owner, again, is a businessman, and the owner is he is thinking in terms of dollars and cents and winning games and selling tickets and selling jerseys, and he's got people that work for him that need to have a read on the market and the tone of things. So at some point, it's going to get past Swayman, get past Sweeney, gets past Neely, and possibly provoke some sort of reasonable deal or meeting somewhere in the middle, what have you. But the Cam Neely comment yesterday that spawns a response from Louis Gross, the agent for Swayman, saying at no point has $64 million ever been offered, which, again, I question, was it 62? Was it 63? Are you being literal?
Well, I thought about that because I said yesterday, that's why when you're doing this job and everybody has a mishap, but it's you got to know your you-know-what before you make a comment. But my only point was, if $64 million was offered, you're crazy not to take it. But Louis Gross is saying that number hasn't even been brought. That's why he came out and made the announcement. He's like, that's not even been brought to our attention. So how fair is it to criticize a guy and say, you're an idiot for not taking that if he's not even been offered that?
Right, and it's unfair to talk numbers because they're unconfirmed. I always, when I go to confirm numbers, I go with the insiders who have confirmed them through their sources. There's lots of numbers out there saying they're 62.8, and
now,
I
quickly
think they're
though,
in the neighborhood.
Let's confirm who said the number 64. Cam Neely, not some guy on his couch in Southie. Right. I mean, this is what changes it.
Shattered on.
I don't need an insider.
Sam Adams.
Exactly. I don't need an insider to listen to Cam Neely say $64 million. You know what I mean? Now, again, we're not privy to the exact details, and Louis Gross is entitled to a response, and he has. But what is different here, Noodles, is that Cam Neely literally said $64 million. Cam Neely, the president of the club.
I guess my question is, my comment is, if it's 62.9 or 63.1, and he rounds up. Like, I think they're in the neighborhood. It's just he probably rounded up, and they're rounding down, going, hold on a second, 64 was never brought to the table,
exactly.
But you're at 63.235. And, like, I think if they're in the same neighborhood, if he's at 8.5 and they're at just under 8, like, let's get this done at 8.25 or whatever. Again, I'm sitting on my couch or sitting on a couch talking about it. It's Jeremy Swayman's life. It's, Louis Gross's reputation, but it's also the Boston Bruins digging in. So I think if they're somewhat in the neighborhood, maybe over the next week or two they can close it up. But this is what bothers me about fake news. They was out there that Swayman's looking double digits and 11, 12, and then other people are saying, well, no, it's, we're not privy to the numbers.
We're not, and that's why I would love
$500,000 apart or $700,000.
Why not just address that if you're Louis Gross? But anyway, it doesn't matter really the details of it all. The fact is, Boston's in one here, and if you're the Ottawa Senators, you are banking on that being an issue. Right? If you're Detroit, if you're any of these teams, Toronto included, Boston had home ice, right? They were leading the division for the majority of the season until Florida passed them late. But Boston had home ice as the second seed in the division. This is what you're hoping for. If you look at where the Leafs are at right now, they're up in Muskoka, which always reminds me of your Pat Quinn stories of the seeing the boys up in Muskoka and everyone having a good time and him being excited about that. But they're up there. By all accounts, everyone's kind of sorted everything out. There is. I know the contract stuff is hanging over Marner and Tavares to an extent, but it's even quieted down, which we knew would happen. And that's the nature of this market and the beast. And once they get to puck drop, they're just going to play. And it's not going to be a daily conversation. And, again, it's been a hard camp by all accounts. There's been some injury flare-ups here, but that applies to every team in the league. I think for the most part, the Leafs just look like a veteran team that is trying to put forth a front that they mean business, and they're just waiting to get to opening night. And I think that's all you can ask for if you're a Leaf fan. There isn't a ton of controversy.
Well, and health. Like, that's the biggest thing, honestly.
But to my knowledge, nothing significant. I mean, Yanni Hakanpää hasn't really skated or joined the group. I know Tavares missed some time, and Yarncroke and Matthews, but I think they're going to be okay, Noodles. I think by next week, everything's going to be all good.
But that's my point is, like, I keep watching these exhibition games, and there's an injury report coming out of the, that's what you still have to get through the last couple games unscathed. And, that's the biggest thing. Like, that's I knock on wood for every player. Like, the last thing you need is to, be skating through the slot and get a shot on the ankle, the last game of preseason that means nothing in the middle of the second period. Like, if they can make it through healthy, then you're right. It's just about where guys are going to play. And to be honest, who's going to play?
They still got to make some
who's
decisions
going to be in that
for sure.
roster?
Yeah, they got to make some decisions for sure. But, I think the majority of the lineup, we're pretty aware of what's going to happen. We assume that Joseph Woll will start opening night. And, as for where they're going to play that game, it's going to be in Montreal. And we still have not heard any news on Patrik Laine's status. But David Reinbacher, who they took in the first round a year ago, he had knee surgery this morning. He's out 4 to 5 months.
Dude, that's awful, man. Like, for a young guy playing that position, I mean, Hayes, you know what goes into turning, like, any position in hockey, not just a defenseman, but for a young guy to start off like that, that's just bad news. I hope things turn around. He becomes a 10-time All-Star. But it's bad news. It's negative mojo, man. I feel awful for the kid.
It's awful for him because it basically kills a season. And he was going to go to Laval. He wasn't going to play with the Habs, I don't believe. I think the plan was to let him continue to grow. But, you're 19, 20 years old. You're a high draft pick. You have high expectations. This team's kind of turning over, and there's defensive prospects showing up here.
Yeah, easy to get lost, too, that way.
That's
it's
the
just
thing.
Like you're tucked in the corner, and it's like, oh, yeah, you look pretty good now, and got eyes on you. You're right in front of my face. The guy getting in the injury
100%.
room it's tough news.
It's terrible for him.
They have a lot of good young defensemen. You're right. At 19 years old, it's such a critical, or 20 years old, it's such a critical developmental year for you. Turning pro, basically learning how to be a pro on and off the ice. This is devastating for them. I think it really is, and for the player, because what it does is put him back a year. If you had him on a depth chart and saying, we think this guy is going to play maybe some games this year, but probably some games next year, you almost have to reset it. And hopefully the kid can come out of surgery, heal, everything heals properly, and you pick up kind of 5-6 months from now. But man, oh man, it hurts your development. We talked about it all the time. The guys who got hurt through COVID when the league shut down, the Shane Wrights, guys like that who sat at home and tried to find places to play, that hurt their development. An injury like this, and that was a harmless play. It was a head-on
head.
It again. Honest to God, I'm looking. I was trying to figure out what knee it was. I mean, he got up gingerly. Obviously, he's injured, but.
I know that really. I can't tell. You're right. Is it that he fell on his left, or was it that he got hit on his right? I guess we can find that out. I don't have that information, but. I don't know how to explain it other than...
It looks like it's his left from the way he's walking off, but I don't know.
Yeah, the way he's leaning,
Well, Hayes, you're a bad example, but you blew your knee out getting off the couch.
Yeah, off the floor, to be accurate. But, that's the truth, man. I can tell you, if it was anything like my recovery, it probably was, where this guy needs to fully rehab the whole knee and the whole surgically repaired part of the knee. It's a grind. Now, he's a professional athlete. He's young. He will grind. But in terms of just the mental aspect of it, is you guys talk about it all the time. Pro athletes, man, because you're gone now. Like, you're out of the limelight for at least a couple of months.
Solo mission, dude.
Yes. And you can't even skate. Like if you have a shoulder repair, you can get out there and skate. You can push pucks around a little bit. This just completely knocks you out of the rotation. He may go home. He may go back to Europe. Who knows what he's going to do in terms of the rehab. But as for the Laine scenario, I don't know what to make of it that we still don't have an announcement. I mean, I would presume what they're trying to figure out here and get multiple opinions is, does he need surgery or not? Because if he does, it's going to be a long time. It may be a 5 or 6 month absence, right? It may be a similar thing. They feel like he can rehab it and possibly strengthen the knee and the leg and return later in the year. That would be significant. But this hit, like, no one is surprised that that's a significant knee injury. Like, that's how subtle it can be. Like the Reinbacher one, you wouldn't even know. It was really kind of a surprising hit. He saw it coming. He just kind of lost his balance and see you later. This, even a couple of days later, has Habs fans freaking out. I mean, online, people are going nuts. And it sets up. I don't think it's going to be crazy on opening night. Like, I don't think the Leafs or the Habs are looking for retribution or anything. Pare's not going to be in the lineup. But I get the impression Habs fans are seeking that out, and a lot of them are frothing at the mouth because, they're breaking it down in the simplest of terms that the Leafs just knocked out Laine, right? As if that was the big plan when the Leafs flew to Montreal, was to knock Patrik Laine out for the year or for a substantial amount of time, which, of course, is lunacy. Right. But I understand why they're emotional. I understand why they're pissed off. And I understand also when you talk about internal growth and all that, that applies to Montreal still. And one thing that was going to maybe push that growth forward was Laine coming to life and having a blast and ripping home a ton of goals and being a big part of the puzzle there. And it's not going to be the case.
You think those boys tomorrow at the Jays year-ender are going to toss it out again?
Well, it's a perfect segue into confirm or deny. We're going to come back with a confirm or deny, and that will be a part of it. Okay, will we hear the term either internal growth or internal improvement from one of Shapiro or Atkins? All right, think on that. Think on it. Don't give me your answer. Confirm or deny still to come. Mike Johnson coming up. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel later this afternoon. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
I can neither confirm or deny that this is in fact a segment.
Boston trades Andrew Raycroft to Toronto in exchange for the rights to Tuukka Rask.
It's been my honor and a privilege to serve as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club.
It's time for confirm or deny.
Do you regret giving all those gentlemen the no trades or no movement clauses?
Well, I can neither confirm or deny that.
I can't confirm or deny.
All right, confirm and deny brought to you by Summit Ford and South Lake Ford Lincoln. Ford employee pricing is back, and you pay what Ford employees pay on most new 2024 Ford vehicles. Limited time only. Visit summitford.com or southlakeford.com today. Internal growth, pretty consistent theme of the first hour. Al's brother and I are certainly looking for that.
No.
It doesn't only bug me. I've been. A couple people that cover sports teams, one being the Jays, wrote me and said internal growth and all that stuff is crazy stuff.
Well, it's just a catchphrase that means nothing. Like, it's just a waste of people's time to talk about.
It's trying to get away from underachieving is what it is. It's like we stunk. And another way it was put to me, it was like, we need internal improvement because no one will sign here, and we need Alejandro Kirk to be a god because of it. It's like...
Right. Yes,
that's
right.
your problem. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Shohei Ohtani didn't come, so someone else needs
There
growth.
is all kinds of different avenues that this one little phrase can turn into, like, at the end of the day, it means junk.
Yeah. All right, well, let me get to this one. All right, let me start with that one. Joe from the Bridge, I'm going to throw you a little curveball here, but let's begin a little bit further down the list. Confirm or deny, one of Mark Shapiro or Ross Atkins will use the term either internal growth or internal improvement during tomorrow's press conference?
I'll start and I'll say absolutely deny because they're not stupid enough to go back to the well and use it again. You've talked about teams and organizations that have stepped past the time period to use that terminology. They did it last year. They can't do it again. Unless they say we're blowing this thing up.
They're not doing that tomorrow. I mean, there's
okay, then you can't use it anymore.
I agree with you that they shouldn't.
I'm confirming it.
I'm thinking about doing that too.
I'm confirming it. Because it's a buzzword, it's a catchphrase, and what they're going to say is Bo didn't have a great season. We're looking for him to have a bounce back. Vladdy had a slow start. He had a great ending. We want more consistency. We want those two to have some internal improvement, some consistency.
Guys,
I'm telling you right now.
I'll bet you 500 each. 500 each. They will not say that word.
I'll take it because I'm going to confirm it because it's like a tick, man. It's like a tick that I think they're going to get the ball rolling and it's going to blurt out. I would guess that they are keenly aware. Ross and Mark are keenly aware, and I'm sure they're working with their PR team before a massive press conference like this. And one of the notes from the PR team is, do not use this term. Like, exclude it from your vocabulary. Delete it. Find the Men in Black and have them put that thing in your face and get rid of it for the rest of time. But I think the ball's going to get rolling. They're going to get hot on an answer, and it's just going to spit out. Or someone's going to lead the witness. I could see a media member saying, any internal improvement expected this year? Where are we at with the internal improvement? And then they probably
it's
have
like
to
a trigger word. It's like he's going to just go, a light's going to go off, and he's like, I really like
leading the witness, man. Maybe we need to send Al's brother down there with an internal improvement question. That might actually end up getting us 500 each, Noodles.
I actually think we should start sending Al's brother to press conferences.
Right. What are your thoughts on internal improvement next season?
Yeah, we got to just plant the seed. He's like a mole. We throw him in there to ask one word to see if we can get anything. Let's start sending him places.
I like that idea.
We should send him on the road. I will say this. I had a conversation with somebody today saying, is there an equivalent in all of pro sports to what Al's brother brings to the table to Hayes and Bro as far as a cooler? Is there? It's
outrageous.
And I don't want to focus on the negative.
I can't help it, man.
Is there somebody out there?
I'm in a black hole because, and it's not just his fault. I got to own this too. It's my team, but every team he's attached to, it just
Dude, who
gets
he is?
Sucked into this dark place.
I can't even believe I can't think of the name. He's point guard. He won the MVP 4 years ago, but now he signed with the Lakers last year.
Oh, Russell Westbrook?
He's Westbrook. He just everywhere, he shows up and that team turns into trash and it's a problem.
Yeah.
He's Westbrook.
It's like a James Dolan kind of Jerry Reinsdorf vibe.
But
Fergie, John Ferguson. The
question is,
Jr. vibes.
Yeah. Does Westbrook talk like he has all the information? The thing is when you listen to Al's brother, It's polished. It sounds amazing, and it just doesn't. I don't know. It just falls flat. Like that's
where I'm at. And I understand this is a cop out, and it's pathetic for me to say this, and I have to own it. But it puts you in a trance when you're like, I'm leaning. I don't know. I think this, and then he starts talking win rates and offensive line issues, and what's going to happen with the line of scrimmage, and what happens on Thursday nights when the moon is in a certain place, and I'm like captivated by it. All right, we're on board with it. And it's really, really ugly. And as of now, we've got Chicago White Sox vibes, and that really sickens me to my core.
That Tennessee pick last night, like you both should be slapped with slide.
Tennessee was 0-3. They're awful. Way. Mason Rudolph was playing last night. Like that's such a stupid game. And let me clarify something. You guys have had the easiest picks in the history of gambling. The Lions were such a lock last night, just like the Ravens were on Sunday night. We are getting, and I know this is going to sound weak, and we're complaining, but Tennessee, Miami, do you know how pathetic that football game is? How awful that game was last night? How tough it is to pick Miami at home, no Tua. Tennessee's lost 3 games in a row.
Dude, you honestly sound like Ross Atkins. You're a joke. You're a joke, and you're Ross Atkins.
I need some internal improvement over here.
You do.
I'm banking on it. I'm going to go all in on a Shohei Ohtani type. Sam Rothstein's available. I'm going to try to get him. He won't come on the team, and then we're going to bank on internal improvement. All right, confirm and deny. Continuing here. The Leafs-Habs opening night game next Wednesday will turn into a gong show.
I'm going to deny this. This is one of those ones where there's so much build-up, and then all of a sudden the cast of characters aren't there. All the Leafs players wouldn't have.
They weren't even at the Bell Center.
Yeah, they weren't even at the Bell Center, so they're going to be like, what are you all pissed off about? So I think sometimes there's just this letdown where it's just about hockey and nothing happens. I totally deny this. Obviously, if Ryan Reeves is in the lineup and Jack Guy's in the lineup, that's the only factor involved.
Yeah, I think there might be a fight between those two, but I don't think it's going to be a Donnybrook based on, Pare and Laine. I think if anything, the 2 points start to a good season. That's what you're looking for. I don't see it getting contentious because of that, unfortunate transaction that went down the other day between, a minor leaguer and a guy who was looking to have a great season with the Canadiens. It's a terrible story. We talked about it. I think it's bad for hockey that Laine's not in the lineup for Montreal, but I don't think it spills over into opening night. I think that both teams have too much more to worry about other than just, having retribution for, an unfortunate, let's be honest. It was a terrible play, and there's, no coming back from that.
No, there isn't.
If you're Pare, he's not going to be on the team.
He's not playing.
Right?
He's not going to be in the lineup, and that's exactly. I mean, there's who else is going to play for the Habs that really will scare the Leafs anyway? Jack Guy's not going to run around and do anything stupid if Reeves is there, because Reeves will just take him on. Beyond that, nothing. Pizzetta's not scaring any of the Leafs, or Josh Anderson's big and tough, but he's a hockey player. He's not showing up. He wants to score goals and win games. He's not coming out there with a vendetta in mind. I mean, that's not going to happen. So I'm denying that as well. Confirm and deny. The Maple Leafs should sign Matthew Knies to a long-term contract ASAP. ASAP.
ASAP is like, you mean like this is like a pressing issue, get this done?
Well, there's reports out there that the Leafs are kicking tires on it, like before maybe he has a massive blow-up season. Get in front of it and sign up to an extension.
Well, what's okay, so it's
7-8
a trap
years,
question, Brian.
$5-6 million, something like that. Like, that's a big deal.
But you're right, it's a big deal, but what is he? He wasn't even a point producer in college. So, what's a massive season in your mind for Matthew Knies?
Well, if he's playing with Matthews and Marner, I would expect 50 points and 20, 25 goals, play with size, physicality. That's a good player, a young player. I don't know if that's worth $5-6 million a year. That might be rich. But can you get him on a long-term deal, which would mean anything, I think, 5 years or more? And if you're going 5-6 years, you're going into UFA years, you're going to have to pay the guy. He's going to be looking for at least, I would think, $4.5 million or so. And he had a great playoff, 7 games. But he was a playoff performer. He showed up.
You got to weigh everything, Hazy. You got to weigh, like how much is this going to cost you if this guy is dynamite? And you also have to look at where he's playing, which if he does play the full season, lineups change, people's positions change. If he plays a year with Matthews and Marner, there's a good chance he could rip home 30 and 25 assists or something. You know what I mean? And if he does that,
so
I don't know.
That's
Everyone else.
So that's the Drake Batherson. That's Drake Batherson's contract then.
Which was what?
4.9. That's what Batherson got 6 years at almost $5 million, 4.975.
I would do that all day long.
Almost got, I think, close to 70 points. See, I don't know what he is. That's the thing. Batherson had 66 points and 28 goals last year. And how old would he have been? He was 25. Knies is 23. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I could see it in that range. I'm saying no because I think if he has a massive year this year, then you kind of figure out what he is. I'd be shocked if he's a 65, 70 point guy. But you're right. Who you're playing with, go to the net, stick on the ice. Things can go well for you. I'm not saying he's a terrible player. I just don't think he's a natural point producer. I think he's a big, strong winger. Now, if he settles in, he's going to get points through osmosis. But yeah, I don't know. I'd say no. I'm denying it. I say give it another year because how much more would he get? Honestly,
well, that's always
if he has one good year.
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately the question: is how much are you saving? But you would be saving something, and that's the operative word here. And that's what they've done with Joseph Woll. They didn't wait for Woll. He's got a year left. They give him a 3-year extension because they think he's going to pop. And if he does pop, and you're only paying him $3.8 million, that's a great deal. So I will confirm it because I'm assuming, and I think it's mandatory, the team would be getting a real discount in terms of what this guy could become. I agree with your assessment on him. I don't see this turning into like a Zach Hyman situation where he scores 50 in 6 years. I could be wrong, pulling for the kid. I didn't see that from Hyman, to be fair. Like when he was 22, 23, 24, I wasn't ever talking about him scoring 50. Nobody was. But his skating ability, Hyman, is so elite. And Knies doesn't skate at that pace. But I think he's capable of being a guy that you want as a part of the outskirts of the core, right? He's not a superstar, but if he's a kid that you think will play here for 6 or 7 years, then you're committing to him anyway. And if you feel like you can get him right now for $4 million, or if he has a really good year and next year it's $5.5 million, that's worth it. And I think the Leafs are in a position where they kind of have to do that, because they've spent every penny possible on the Matthews deal, on the Marner deal, or the Nylander deal. If they keep Marner, they're not getting any discounts on those guys. Like those are just top dollar premium superstar UFA deals. You've got to find some deals elsewhere and some value elsewhere. So I think it actually would be wise to do that, assuming they know what they have, and obviously they wouldn't do it unless they believe in the kid. So I would go forward with that. Confirm or deny, William Nylander will play center opening night. Every shift.
Come on. It's already over. Deny. Deny.
He's already
Don't remember, he's got to give this a 20-game segment. No, it's already over. As soon as I saw him on right wing, I guarantee you they just met and they're like, piss on this, man. Just screw this. And we're not doing it anymore. And I'm glad because I don't think he's a centerman, and I don't think he'll ever be a centerman. So I'm glad I'm confirming this, and I really, truly believe it's over.
Okay.
Question. I didn't see Masters' notes today. Where was Nylander in the lineup?
Well, they're up in Muskoka. I don't think they're on the ice.
Skate, right? Yeah. That's why.
I think they're just going up and golfing and doing whatever they're doing. I don't know.
I think he's a winger opening night. So I'm confirming it or denying it?
You're going to deny it that he's.
Yeah.
This will be so ridiculous if he doesn't get to opening night. And I'm going to confirm it to go against you two more than anything else. It's not even about logic at this point, but it's you did the whole song and dance again. Willie came out and said he went up to Berube and said, "If we're doing this, you got to leave me there." And then a week later, they're like, "Just go take some drills playing right wing. Just forget it. Go over there."
So
it just that makes no sense that it's a tough transition. So within that transition, we're actually going to make you not play center. Like, wouldn't it be the complete opposite, that it's so tough to transition that you need to do more practicing at the position as opposed to less?
I don't want to talk about it. He's not playing center, and I'm glad it's over with. It's just nonsense.
Yeah, you might be right, but I'll confirm just to be a contrarian that, maybe Tree Living steps in here and just goes, guys, I know you both don't want this, but I have to try it, and I have to see you play up the middle of the ice.
But it's not like Tree's some donkey. Tree's a smart guy.
I know, but he's pushing for it.
Yeah, but he's got to be able to watch and say that doesn't fit. That's not what that is.
Well, the guy's played one game in one period, and then he got pushed by Nick Robertson. Let me ask you this, Hayes.
Do you think it would ever come to fruition where he would blossom into this centerman where you're like, I don't think so. He's always been a centerman.
I never thought that, but why did they do it in the first place then?
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know.
Like if they're so smart and brilliant, why did they have him show up and do the whole song and dance as a centerman?
I don't know.
Obviously, they saw something.
It's over with.
Well, or they wanted something. That's the thing. They wanted something, but somebody said something internal going, either it was him or Craig Berube or
Who do you think is more likely stepped in and said, enough of this?
Probably Berube.
I think so too.
I think he watched it and was like, I don't like this. You're not a centerman. So what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah.
And I think he ultimately has the call right now of who goes out on the ice. So I don't know. I just got unrelated news. This is a great. Ryan just sent me a note. Goes, Al's brother is Mike Milbury.
Oh, that's harsh, man. And he has said Hayes and Broback. What was it, galaxies or whatever?
Light years.
Light years. We are light years.
Hey, dude, you can't dump on that. You sign off on every. You sign off on every pick.
It's 100% on me. But I'm a weasel at the top. I'm just.
You are, man. You're Shapiro.
I'm a suit.
You're Shapiro. You're like, Ross. I smell something over there, Ross. You better deal with that.
Go deal with it, Al's brother, man. I'm in charge of the renovations. That's what I'm doing. I have bigger and better things to worry about. All right, confirm or deny. Jeremy Swayman is more likely to be traded than to sign before opening night.
Traded over signed, I'm going to deny that. He's too valuable of a piece. I think this little blow up in some weird fashion will bring things together. And I think both of the parties will realize that there's a number there that'll get this kid signed. I don't know what that is. I imagine it would be close to the number that Cam Neely discussed, but I would say it gets done in relatively quick fashion. I don't think this goes much longer.
Why would this all be happening if they're so close, though? That's what I can't understand. Like, why would you?
Kidding.
Why would you let your guard down if you're Cam Neely if you're right at the finish line? That's what I don't understand. Yeah. Like, why be?
That's contract negotiations. It's like somebody caves at the end, and then it's like, well, if you caved at the end, why the hell did you wait that long? Why didn't you cave right at the beginning?
Well, that's true, but who's going to cave? Louis Gross, his agent, doesn't usually cave, man.
I don't think old Grossy boy caves. I don't think he does.
No, but
happy to see
gross misconduct. I love it.
But think about it over the term of the contract. It could be. We are talking millions of dollars now. If they were asking for, let's say 9, that's 72. That's $72 million to 64. It's still $8 million, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's $1 million a year. If it's 8.5, they're at 68 to 64. Like that's why I think cooler heads will prevail. I don't think there's going to be a trade. I think emotions are involved right now, but maybe sometimes it goes south before it goes north. It almost looks like it's unfixable, and then both sides go, oh, what are we doing here? Let's get this done. So I think I'm going to deny it.
Okay.
I guess I think they're going to get back together here soon. It's a breakup over the weekend.
They can't trade him, but I don't think it's going to be signed by opening night. Like if you're the player and you've gone this far, you kind of have. I think you kind of have to dig in. Maybe there's another pressure point right before the season starts. Like that's what negotiations are about, pressure point. And he blew through the opening day one. He's blown through halfway camp. And maybe he doesn't want to go through the last one. But if he's gone this far, I just don't know how Louis Gross and Swayman are going to cave. So it's on the Bruins, I think, to pick up the phone and do what you just said, Noodles, and say, screw it. Here's the other $500,000 a year. or $750 a year, whatever it is. And after their kind of response and their maneuvers recently, I'm not sure how quickly they want to do that. But I'll deny it too, because I just don't think they're going to trade him. I don't think they can trade him. And I think Swayman, by all accounts, wants to be in Boston. You can't trade Ullmark and Swayman in the same offseason.
No, and I'm guarantee you his agent has gone to him and said, just like labor negotiations with the PA, how far are you willing to sit out? How long are you willing to sit out? Like, are you willing to go past December 1st and miss the whole season? Like, are you willing to do that? They would have had to have that conversation before the agent can do his prep work and proceed. He needs that answer. If this guy says piss on it, like Mike Pekka, I think, sat out a whole year in Buffalo.
Yes,
he ultimately got traded to the Islanders. They traded him.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
So the agent, before he approaches this, with all his tactics and his approach, has to know what the player is willing to do. And if the answer is no, I'm not willing to sit out the whole year, that changes the way things go, man.
That's right. Yep, that's right. And the agent knows that. The team may or may not know that, but they're going to play that card as long as you can until you actually have to sign. All right, last one quick, right at the end. This was a development that happened this morning. 4 boxes of Halloween candy arrived at my house. Jesus. Confirm or deny they all survive until October 21st.
Well, I say, knowing you don't like eat garbage, but I think when these things pop around, you turn...
Those are gone. I'm telling you, they're gone. They'll be gone by October 18th.
They will be gone possibly by the end of the weekend.
All of them?
Every walk by, it's a 2-pack. Every single walk by.
Dude, why didn't you tell your wife?
I told her that afterwards. She's we're into October now.
You can buy them the day of.
I understand that. Of course we can. And that's the thing, though. They suck you in with deals early in October. They're like, hey, get in front of the Halloween candy
$8
and save $2.
for 2 boxes, and you dump them in a bin the day of. That's it. You don't need to prep like that. It's stupid.
But I'm in big trouble. I'm in big, big trouble because they've arrived. I've already been through a couple of them because one of the boxes
Let me ask you this, though. You do the 2-pack drive-by, which is just a greasy little, fat guy move, the 2-pack drive-by. Yeah. Do you go full out and when everyone's in bed just grab a box and just make it just go nuts?
I intend on settling in tonight, and it's not going to get crazy. I mean, after a while, because you know what it is when you're doing the small ones, there's so many wrappers. You're like, this is really, really horrible gluttony.
I know, dude, but you can do a 20-piece tonight.
I'll try for you. I'll do my best for you.
It's not for me. I just know what you're going to.
I'm capable. A 20-piece of small Snickers. You mix
That's
it
not a
with
big deal.
That's nothing.
That's the equivalent of 4 chocolate bars, though.
20 might be excessive.
They're not that small. They're not that small.
They're one-timers.
Small enough that
they're one-timers. Dude.
Yeah,
it's
I
at the
think
end
a
of the
20
practice.
Piece.
It's the end of practice when a guy's in the slot and the coach is just feeding him one-timers.
Dude, when I was monster mode, you know those, my thing was jujubes. Mm-hmm. Do you know those little small square packs of those little healthy Welch's things that kids
have? You'd maul those.
Dude, I'm not kidding you. There's a Costco box the size of a massive Cheerio. I would dummy a whole box in a sitting. There's 100. Dude, I know.
That's why.
There was 180 small little. There's only 4 little things in each
Right, but still.
But it was a. It's a grizzly.
At any point, if I put a total 399.5 individual Welch bites, do you think you were over or under at any individual sitting? Think you ever went over that number?
Of individual Welch's?
Sitting down for an hour and you had over 399.5 pieces of Welch gummies.
Over, dude. Way over.
Wow. That could be a world record, dude. You should have maybe checked in on that. That's a lot.
Should check in. Welch gummy world
I know that
record.
my kids eat them all the time.
It brings me back to Costco used to have this juju bag. I'm not kidding. It was like a kid's hockey bag full of jujubes. And in Muskoka, I buried a whole bag. It's so outrageous.
It's just so unhealthy and gluttonous.
It is, man. But
Anyway.
I got it in my head. I saw a tweet or something. Somebody said that like jujubes and stuff doesn't have any sugar in it. So I always thought in my head.
What do you?
That
No,
talking
they're
about?
not
Go to
fat,
commercial.
but they're
It's-
all sugar.
They're
Dude,
all
I
sugar.
know. I
The
know.
whole thing is sugar.
We got to go to commercial.
All right,
It's
confirm or
so
deny, brought to you by
embarrassing.
Summit Ford and South Lake Ford Lincoln. Ford employee pricing is back. You pay what Ford employees pay on most new 2024 Ford vehicles. Limited time only. Visit summitford.com or southlakeford.com today. Mike Johnson coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050N on the TSN app. All right, Mike Johnson coming up into the next hour. Lions with a win, Titans with a win last night. Jared Goff, 18 for 18. Had a perfect game and also caught a touchdown pass. He doesn't get much better than that if you're Jared Goff.
Partsy wasn't happy about that one. He was like, you guys are good and you're dominating. You really need that circus play. He's not happy with that monkey business out there, these silly plays. He doesn't like it.
Yeah, I get it. I guess if it goes against you, you don't like it, but stop it then. You know, if you don't like the play, then call up a defense that's going to stop it. I mean, Jared Goff made you look stupid last night. But
Jerry Goff, that's your guy.
Yeah, Jerry Goff. Yeah, that NFC North, man, it's got some good teams. Like Detroit's now 3-1. You got the Vikings at 4-0. Packers 2-2. We'll see. I think the Bears are 2-2. It's going to be a good run, man. It's going to be a really good run. But yeah, 100% completion rate. No one's ever done that before. Of I believe over 10 throws in the NFL. So that's mighty impressive from Jared Goff and the Lions last night. And we turn the page, and we're off to week 5. And that's our approach. Hayes and Bro, we will be better. The first 4 weeks, we ease into things. We're basically 1-3. We're the equivalent of a 1-3 football team.
Dude, you guys are
with
a
high
mess,
hopes
man.
and high expectations, and it begins with strong practice habits. Al's brother's in the lab right now cooking up tremendous information. All right, hour 2 coming up. Mike Johnson will join us. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050N on TSN 4.